Hey you guys, this is Michelle Goldstein and you are at Heart Alchemy's Conscious Kitchen. So today I'm going to teach you how to make the bomb ginger molasses cookies, which is perfect for this time of year. And these are healthy, if you can believe it, healthy cookies, which is something I'm a huge fan of. I gave up regular white sugar a couple years ago and it's really been a good thing to get rid of in my life. Everything in this recipe is nutritious. The base of the recipe is almond butter. You'll need a cup of almond butter, 2 eggs, coconut flour, coconut sugar, a little baking soda, a little bit of molasses. I suggest organic for everything, by the way, fresh ginger and dried ginger and cinnamon. If you're using unsalted almond butter, then use a little bit of salt as well. So this doesn't take but a couple of minutes and you'll have something super yummy to snack on. Suggest lining your baking sheet with parchment paper. Use unbleached because you don't want those extra chemicals going into your food. It makes the cleanup super quick and easy. I like no fuss, no muss. You're gonna need 1 cup of almond butter. This all happens in 1 bowl, by the way, which I am a huge fan of. 1 bowl. I really don't love cleaning, but I do love baking, and I love nutritious, delicious goodies. 2 eggs. So you'll crack the eggs into the bowl. Mix the eggs into the almond butter, and you want to get it as creamy and smooth as you can. This particular recipe takes a little bit of extra muscle to make it happen because the almond butter gets really like stiff and sticky, but it makes for the most delicious, chewy, yummy cookies. All right, so you want to make sure that's mixed up really well. And then we are going to add 3 tablespoons of molasses. This gives such a nice flavor. And by the way, the coconut sugar gives such a nice flavor. It doesn't work for everything. Believe me, I've had plenty of fails on these like healthy baking excursions where it's like, it would be better with butter and sugar. But this particular recipe really works. And then you're gonna mix again. So right around this point is where I usually switch to using a spoon instead of this whisk, because the whisk just like gets all stuck inside of it. It starts to become too much of a pain. Then we're gonna add 1/4 cup of coconut flour and 3/4 cup of coconut sugar. 2 teaspoons of ginger, but I always put a little more. Every time I make it, this recipe in particular, I add a little bit more and it's never enough. Like I could always put more ginger in it. You'll need 1 teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of the ginger powder and a teaspoon of cinnamon, and you can always add more of the spices if you like. I just really love that fresh gingery taste. And then you can stir it up. It's a very like thick batter for these particular cookies. You almost kind of have to like mash it around, but I think it's important to know with baking to not overmix. I don't know, gives a better texture. Make sure you're putting a lot of love into it. That's the most important ingredient. Okay, so here's your dough. You want to make sure you preheat the oven to 350, which I should have said at the beginning, but I didn't. So preheat your oven to 350. And then you'll just take little balls of this dough. We'll roll them up. Just roll them up, and then you'll put them in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. And I take a peek. I don't necessarily set a timer, but you have to be aware of what you're doing. Put it in the oven, 10 minutes. I'll show you what they look like when they're done. Once the cookies are out of the oven, 8 to 10 minutes is usually about right. Make sure that they look sort of golden brown, but it's always better to keep these on the chewier side for sure. After they've cooled in the pan for a few minutes, you can take them off onto a plate or a cooling rack if that's your thing. Let them cool completely before you cover them in any way, because otherwise they get too moist. But they are good out of the oven. I actually prefer these cookies the next day, which is rare. Like a chocolate chip cookie you need right out of the oven, I get it. But these are even good a couple days later. They're even good frozen, so don't try and put them in the freezer and not eat them. They're so good. So I hope that you enjoy them, and there will be more exciting and healthy and sustainable recipes for you coming up in the future. Please subscribe to Heart Alchemy Yoga to stay in the loop. We will see you guys soon. Be well, and here is to your health.